Representation ultimately is important, but being that Hollywood treats it like a box-checking contest, it starts to feel fake and patronizing as opposed to anything beneficial. Hi y'all, SnarkyJay cosplay here. As a Hispanic woman, I check a few of the boxes that Hollywood so desperately seeks to check and win diversity points off of. But to be honest, I find the whole box-checking game super f***ing annoying and patronizing. See, I'm not against diversity in media, I'm against forced diversity that actually almost objectifies people for their identities, ethnicities, what have you, as opposed to actually propping them up. See, there's a huge difference between writing inclusive stories and slapping identity on a cardboard cutout so that the studio can take their little seal of approval and get some hype on Twitter. Real representation builds meaningful characters that serve the people they seek to represent. Fake representation does nothing but build PR campaigns. So let's talk about inclusion when it comes to marketing. Studios often now advertise diversity before they actually advertise anything about the story. You hear things like, this is the first blank character in the MCU, it's got a strong female lead, this is LGBTQ friendly, that kind of thing. And that, honestly, to me at least, sounds great. Until you realize that they're actually just selling the idea of inclusion more than selling the idea of these characters doing anything meaningful. I believe in inclusion, but it literally does a disservice to the identities being included if it's not done well. It essentially boils down to being tokenism disguised as progress. It's not fair representation if the character has no personality, no purpose, and no growth aside from the point that they represent a certain thing. The character basically becomes branding with a pulse. And so essentially, it's not about who the character is, it's about what they represent, and not even what they represent in terms of identity, it's what they represent to the studio's bottom line. Characters are now defined by their identity traits and not their choices, flaws, or their character arcs. Their gender, their race, their sexuality, what have you, is often defining their entire personality. They're often placed in stories that actually aren't even about them. They are stories that are meant solely for scoring diversity points. Which I don't understand how Twitter fails to see this as a problem. It's cheap and it undermines the value and uniqueness of the individual when the only thing the studio cares to acknowledge about them is this one facet of their identity, this one label that they've been able to stick on them. The writers aren't exploring culture or lived experience or even internal conflict. They're only using these identities for aesthetics. They'll give you a strong female lead with no emotional depth. They'll give you an LGBTQ character whose entire personality is, I'm this is my flag, this is my identity, deal with it. And that's the only thing about them. They'll give you people of color who are usually written by people suffering with white guilt, and so somehow they end up writing the most stereotypical, trivialized individuals reduced to only their skin color or ethnicity in a way that is basically offensive. And these in a series, for instance, are usually representation characters that never appear again past episode 3 because they were just there to check a box. They don't actually care. Hollywood doesn't actually care about representing you. They only hope to get your money. You and your identity mean nothing to them. They just want your cash. And the problem is that we're already seeing the cash is starting to dry up because audiences aren't buying fake representation anymore. The audience can tell when they're being pandered to. Pandering is transparent and lazy. It's really easy to call out. Shallow inclusion like this usually results in bad writing, weak stories, and forgettable characters that represent nothing. And it honestly sets people up to fail because when these poorly written characters and poorly written stories fall flat, the response then always gets labeled as bigotry rather than what it is. Bad writing. And it actually hurts representation by turning it into a lightning rod for online discourse as opposed to a celebration of anyone being different. And look at it this way, they will write a dog shit story that they know is dog shit because there's too many focus groups behind these things for them to think it's good. And then they'll put a member of a marginalized or underrepresented community or identity at the forefront of it. And they'll use that person's identity, often a real actor, as a shield for criticism. And I'm sorry, but real representation is story first. Representation isn't just about putting somebody that checks off a box on a screen. It's about telling their story in a way that both acknowledges this facet of their identity and also acknowledges and respects their humanity. When a character is well written, their identity enhances a story. It doesn't replace it. Inclusion should only serve to deepen the character, not define them entirely. Culture, background, belief system, identities, those all matter when they shape the person and shape their experiences and shape the way they look at the world around them. I've spoken about representation on this channel before, and while it's super important, it needs to be tied into storytelling and not just like, hey, we have this person who happens to check this box. Please buy the t-shirt or we're gonna call you a f***ing bigot. When someone asks me about myself, I don't start by defining my age, gender, ethnicity, race, sexuality, you name it. Those are important things to note, sure, but there's so much more to my personal identity than just those things. And that's exactly what these characters deserve. See, good representation isn't just a hashtag. It's a character who ultimately feels real. Real flawed, real human, and real in a way that means they're not just a marketing bullet point to get cheap praise on Twitter. See, diversity in Hollywood isn't the problem. Lazy, corporate-driven diversity is. And if Hollywood actually gave a shit about inclusion, they'd stop using it like a promo code and actually ask the people who want to be included how they should be included and actually write something worth telling, where the rest of us don't just feel like, yeah, that's a box checking contest, and instead we become interested in this person's identity and values as a result of a good story. Maybe Hollywood will see it, or maybe we'll just have to start checking boxes with them. Who knows? And that's all from me. I've been SnarkyJay. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. For more SnarkyJay, be sure to check me out on Instagram, and if you'd like to support me, this channel, and my content creation, do check out and consider subscribing to my Patreon for exclusive photo shoot sets and cosplay content. I'll add links to all of those in the description below. And let me know an example that you actually really liked of good representation in the comments below.